Welcome to Going Deeper, where we dive into the heart of all things earth-friendly and humanity-driven. I'm your host, David Steele, and each week I'll be bringing you inspiring conversations with remarkable guests who are leading the charge in sustainability, visionary leadership, and planet-saving projects. From climate warriors to innovators, we'll explore the stories, strategies, and secrets behind driving change for a better world. So join me on this journey to unearth the wisdom and insights that will empower you to make a lasting impact. It's time to go deeper, and together we can shape a brighter future. All right. I am stoked to be here in the temple with Ian Michael, version 2 of our podcast. And I think right now we're going to go deep on a topic that a lot of people are probably really interested in, which is how we're using natural plant medicines to kind of lift up humanity and lift up ourselves. And starting with your video issues, it's all good. Why don't you go ahead and start telling us?
Absolutely. Well, I originally discovered psychedelics or plant medicine when I was a teenager. And they really helped me pop out of a pretty significant depression. I was like suicidally depressed. And then there was a point where I didn't have any desire or need for them anymore. So I went on a path of meditation and had kids and ran businesses and went to school. And then when I moved to Esalen about 10 years ago, I got reintroduced to the world of psychedelics and plant medicine.
Tell us a little bit about Esalen.
Yeah, Esalen is this archetypal retreat center on the Big Sur coast. It has hot springs and it overlooks the ocean. It's really powerful land. The Big Sur coast is just mountains and sea. And when I look for a place to build a center or a place that I want to live, I look for a place where the elements are really powerful. So it's like rock and ocean and air and hot springs. That really inspired my work here at Holos, and I was looking for a muse after Esalen that was similarly powerful, but Esalen is called the birthplace of the human potential movement. Mm-hmm. And as I was leaving, we were starting to conceptualize what would it be like to see the collective potential movement, where we like go from the individual self-development work that happened in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and developed through today to what is possible for humanity. And so Holos is a manifestation of that evolution of what would it be like to live in community with people that all have similar values of conservation and growing food, and also deep transformational work. After going to grad school for psychology, after my time at Esalen, I started to deepen my practice with plant medicine, and specifically ayahuasca, San Pedro, peyote, and also was asked by a lot of people to serve mushrooms and support them in that kind of work. So it was really like a natural evolution of my work with psychology to realize that these plant teachers, is what a lot of people call them, are available to assist in the process of self-transformation and collective transformation.
Amazing. And then how did it evolve into Holos? Like what's the connection?
Yeah, the connection point is the name Holos came from the word holotropic. So Holos means whole, to be whole. And the whole project of Holos was inspired by Stanislav Grof, who I believe you've been starting to read one of his books.
Love it.
Yes. And so his work really inspired this project. He had done a lot of research back in the 50s and 60s with LSD, and then he developed holotropic breath work as a means for moving into expanded states of consciousness and to do healing work through those states. So just through breathing, you can reach these states of non-ordinary consciousness and do a lot of healing. And plants are another means to that. And so when he came to me and was interested in building a center for transpersonal psychology, I inquired whether he would be open to choosing a location where we could do plant medicine legally and really have a safe and good place for people to do this work. So I chose Costa Rica for a lot of different reasons, but one, because there's a lot of different traditions that are practiced here, and there's an openness to that practice. So we have an alternative health clinic license for psilocybin and San Pedro.
Oh, wow.
So we can practice pretty openly. And then we also have visiting practitioners from Peru or Mexico that have their own traditions. And we've built a bit of an ecumenical, which means like multi-practice retreat center here. where we host people from Peru or from Mexico or all these different traditions, and then also students of those traditions. And we mostly do it in a retreat context so that people have an opportunity for preparation and integration and have other practices that support them, yoga and body work.
It's amazing. And it's so important, I think, because sometimes we have trouble getting out of the way of ourselves, and we have trauma that was unresolved. And I think my experience, and I think a lot of people that I've talked to, the experience is that sometimes the plant medicine in the right ceremony can really open them up to their higher self, to their bigger self, and I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that said, when I did this ayahuasca journey, it literally changed my life, or, whatever have you. So it's really interesting that, or not interesting, it's really important, the work that you're doing. And it's I didn't know that you could actually get a license to do it here.
Yeah, there's just a few in the country, but we've established ourselves as a safe and ethical place to do the work. And that's a big piece of anybody working with plant medicine or psychedelics, is the principles of set and setting. So like, what is the set? What's the environment you're in, or the setting? And then what is the set? And that means like, what's your mindset going into it, and preparing yourself with intention and prayer and coming to it in a good way.
I can tell you this, of all the people I met on this particular journey to Costa Rica through Envision Fest and the leaders of the different communities, all of them have benefited from plant medicine and are very much into more of a holistic way of life and the environment and the things that they're doing. Absolutely. It seems like it's kind of a universal thing that we've done it. Everybody's got a different level of what they're doing, but it's not like, let's go have a party and have fun. It's not about that. It's about actually doing work to becoming a better person and freeing up the stuck points in our life, which I think is really cool. You left these two really awesome books in each of the rooms, and I got through more than a third of the book, in the last 24 hours. Yeah. It's really, really interesting. Stan's work is something.
It goes really deep.
Yeah.
So Stan inspired this project, and I was looking for a place that we could do the work that would be awe-inspiring in itself. So you don't even need plant medicine, where you would come to a place like this and it's like, okay, there's a 600-foot waterfall and birds and just that is enough to open your aperture of like, oh, wow, this is an incredible planet. I really want to help preserve it and support it. And so, that's one element of it. And then you're right. The plant medicine does help to cleanse our vessels so that we can just be good stewards of our lives and good human beings. One of my teachers, who's a restoration ecologist, she serves ayahuasca here, and we have the same teacher in Peru. And, she repeatedly says, it's like, okay, great, we're having these ceremonies, we're doing this really deep work, we're clearing our traumas, but por qué? Like, why are we doing it? And the why is so that we can contribute to our communities and be better family members and just take care of our bodies. And so, that's really what it's about, is it's like, it's not just about, oh yeah, plant medicine is so great and I have this amazing vision. It's not even really about the visions. It's like, how do you move forward with your life with integrity and consciousness?
I see that. And I also seen some amazing healings. I haven't done a ton, but the things that I have done, I've really gotten some answers to some really tough questions that I had. And I'm like, okay, I can go into ceremony and come back out and have a better knowing. It's almost like my conscious mind wants to hold on to something, and then my subconscious can come out and say, yep, here's the answer. You should have known it all along, but here it is. It's really interesting. Have you seen some people here have really amazing results?
Unbelievable. Yeah. We've run 60 plus retreats here now, and the healings are so profound. And it can be as simple as like coming back to your life with greater appreciation, or understanding a family dynamic and having you show up differently, but also like completely rewiring the nervous system. So one of the really interesting things that that I've found over time, and this may partially be because Stan inspired this project, but I've watched a lot of people, you could call it regress, but return to the state of being inside their mother's womb or being in the birth process. And so I'll share just a little bit about one thing in Stan's legacy that is really profound to me, which is he talks about what are called the perinatal matrices, and it's the stages that you are born through. So the first one, you're just in your mother's womb and you're being fed and you're receiving all of the thoughts and feelings that she has. That's the first stage of gestation. The second one is that she starts to have contractions and you start to go through the process of the world is kind of like closing in on you. And depending on how your mother responded to that moment, you're kind of wired that when there's outside conflict or things pressing on you, that's your wired response is however your mom was experiencing that moment. So that's the second stage. And then the third is you're actually like moving into birth, and so there's a lot of different ways that people are born, but typically people move through the birth canal, and that third stage, there's like a lot of directionality. So it's like how you relate to directionality in your life is often patterned in that stage. And then the fourth stage is when you're an individuated human. So you have just come out of the womb and, maybe there's a lot of excitement around you. Maybe the doctors are worried. Maybe your mom has different feelings and that kind of is another really strong imprint. So what Stan saw as he was taking people through these really deep journeys is that eventually they may re-experience their birth, and there may be a portion of that needs to get rewired in their system.
They can change it.
Exactly. So
It's amazing.
I had the most really, this happens a lot, but I had a really profound, before we had even bought the land, we were running retreats elsewhere, and there was this young woman, she came to the retreat, worked with the ayahuasca, and then partway through the journey, she seemed to go into like a state that most people would be pretty afraid of. The person that was serving was like, she's going to ride this out. We supported her. And I just stayed with her for a while, but she was basically unconscious and like moving her neck around and unable to like make contact with somebody in front of her. And she was in a great deal of agony. And eventually she and I could start to make eye contact, and then she would slip back into this really like intense state. And the next day after she had come back and things were settled and she slept, I asked her, I said, like, just out of curiosity, what was your birth experience? And she said, well, as I was being born, the cord was wrapped around my neck and I lost, like they were worried that I was going to die. And so like I ended up being born and everything worked out. But in the ceremony, I'm watching her relive the experience of having the cord wrapped around her neck and like the threshold of life and death being really tenuous there.
Wow, amazing. And then did she feel, did it change her?
Absolutely. A great sense of relief, because if you can re-experience a trauma and have a relational container where somebody's there with you that's like just calm and like you're gonna feel your way through this, your nervous system gets a chance to like unwind that pattern, and then you can show up in your life in new ways, and it has ripples all throughout how you relate in the main world.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I personally, I was at a ceremony with some elders from Mexico around the fire last year. I went back into my mother's womb and I experienced things that she was feeling at that time that I had no idea about. And I ended up asking her afterwards, like, can you tell me about this? And it turned out that those things were accurate. So yeah, totally fascinating how deep it goes. So I like to call this place like a death and birth portal where people are reborn. And there's a long history of the indigenous people here using this land as like a place that they lived, but also a place that they passed on and left the world. And so I was sharing a story about when you're at the top of the cave, they used to watch their ancestors move out, and then the energy comes from up there and it goes down through the canyon. And now you've experienced some of the river. And the river is very much like a birth canal. There's all these places where the water goes, and you can feel that same energy of like, oh, wow, I'm like moving into a new stage of life. So we do a lot of ritual and ceremony, not just with plant medicine, but also with the water and like allowing people to shed aspects of themselves that no longer serve them. And so I run a retreat with my partner called Rebirth, and we do a lot of that work of like, okay, what are you wanting for your next stage of life? And then you let go of what is no longer serving you.
I love it. And for me, it ties to the awareness of the environment. You know, very much you're very in tune with your land and, you know, all of the things you planted and built and done along the way. And so it seems like such a natural thing to really want to help people to see the best part of themselves and work through some of the things that people tend to hold on to, you know, for a long time. Sometimes people for years or decades, you know, and so, you know, just having the resource and the place, this is such a healing place. Like we'll show a video of this room that we're sitting in, but it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
I don't know how you got the bamboo to do all of that that you did.
Yeah, and the level of truly attention that is placed in here is really strong. We built this with architects from Bali, and we did it through a workshop. So this building, we trained local people how to build with bamboo in creative ways so that we can give back to the community and have them have new skills. But this is very, very womb-like. You know, it's this big dome, and it's also built around principles of sacred geometry. And you were asking me at one point, like, have the ceremonies helped inspire or helped inform the building of all of this? And so a lot of people talk about seeing patterns and different things when they're in journeys. And I very much do my architectural design work while I'm in ceremony. So this is inspired partially by a honeycomb. It's like a 6-sided shape. And then all of these bamboo arches we build through heating them up with a torch. And there's a temperature that bamboo starts to release and starts to...
That's really cool.
Yeah. So this is a beautiful air temple. And then there's like magical things that I didn't expect that happened. Like at the entry, somehow the way the geometry is, if you're at the entry and you listen and it's kind of quiet, you can hear the waterfalls like half a mile away in the canyon, because somehow the energy gets caught and amplified. And so every time somebody walks into the ceremony space, they're being like cleansed by the sound of the waterfall.
That's really cool. It's really cool. I think I need to spend about a month here to just understand all of the magic that you've built here.
Yeah.
But it's really incredible. And I absolutely know that we could talk about plant medicine for a long time. I know that it's been a great teacher in my life and continues to be. And I know that you're helping many, many people here. So it's really amazing. And, you know, we'll share the info about, you know, what this is and how it goes. But this facility that we're in, it's just amazing. And you know, you're sitting in here and toucans are flying by and it's always
we had one circle. We're sitting here and we're doing this really deep San Pedro work. And with San Pedro, you can really do relational work because it's not like you're leaving your body. It's very embodied and you feel things really deeply. So we're sitting in a circle and people are doing their healing work. And this toucan flies in and it lands on the tree right there. And it spent a good hour with us. And it was like truly, it was like it was listening. It was like it would cock its head and like, what are these humans doing, you know? And it's like that level of curiosity that the toucan had is the perfect like mirror or example of how to show up in life. So everybody was like doing our work here, but we're also getting taught by the toucan of like, how do you hone your attention to be really calm and really listen? And, you know, that's, I think, a lot of what the plants teach us. You know, it's even a miracle that people discovered these plants. You know, it's like the peyote, which sometimes we host circles here with the Wirikuta, the tradition of northern Mexico. And they tell a story of a period of time where they were in need of help and support. And the blue deer, as a manifestation of the peyote, came to them and showed them the way to the peyote. And then that's what like ended up saving their civilization. And yeah, and similarly, it's like with ayahuasca, it's this mix of two plants in the jungle, a vine and a leaf. And when you mix those into this tea, allows your body to digest the DMT in a way that it gets into your bloodstream. Otherwise, like when we're eating plants, most everything has DMT in it, but we're able to digest it and get it into our bloodstream because of this one particular vine. And so somehow the plants like told people like, hey, put these two things into a tea, and that's how you're going to access this consciousness and this plant teacher. So all of the plants have their own unique magic and something to show us. And a lot of times the plant and the form that it takes is a lot of what we experience in its consciousness. So it could even be like with aromatherapy and that kind of thing. If you like pay attention to the form of the plants, it's like they're expressing themselves in a particular way. And we're just learning a little bit from them about how to express ourselves in our own unique human flavor of that. And so it's really cool. Yeah, really cool. Created a life where I get to commune with plants a lot, and some of those are psychedelic, and some of those are just aromatherapy or the food we're growing.
And some of the plant medicine you plant here too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have plant medicine all over the farm, and I showed you the little greenhouse that we had down there, and we just keep cultivating medicinal plants. And it's also pretty amazing to see the indigenous people that we work with and that we have on the land here, how much knowledge they have in the forest. So we'll be walking through the forest, and maybe they'll cut a vine and they'll be like, oh, here, and the vine is like spewing water, and they're like, this is really good for your kidneys. And so we want that. And there was a time I was sitting on my porch and I was looking out at all the plants and out at the forest, and I was thinking like, how many generations would it take to develop this encyclopedia of knowledge of the jungle? It's like, that's one of the most important things for us is realizing that the indigenous cultures are carrying all of this knowledge of plants, whether it's psychedelic plants or otherwise, that if those traditions or languages are lost, then we lose this whole encyclopedia of knowledge. Because as I was sitting there on the porch, I'm looking out at the plant, and I was like, if I started tasting every plant and kind of getting to know it, it would take much more than a lifetime to figure out what works and what's good for my body and tuning in. So it's like this has been built up over millennia and generations, this cultural knowledge. And a lot of it is not even written. Most of it is oral traditions. So, yeah, super interesting. Well, I love it. And I'm sure at some point we'll do this again because we need to. But I really appreciate you and what you've created here. And yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah. Someday come join us in a circle. I will for sure. Yeah. The nest, the little house, I'm infatuated with that. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Appreciate you. Until next time, we will see you and we will go deeper.
Thanks for joining me on this episode of Going Deeper with David Steele. I hope you found inspiration and insight to fuel your passion for a better world. Remember, change starts with us, and together we can be the driving force for a brighter, more sustainable future. So until next week, keep your hearts open, your minds curious, and your actions aligned with the planet's well-being. Stay committed, stay conscious, and let's meet right back here next time for another deep dive into making a difference.